Hi, y'all. This week, you have only one assignment, your rough draft that's due on Friday. Now, this is literally a rough draft. It's not your final research paper. That is due next week. But it's a rough draft, but it's not a first draft. I want it to be something that you're fairly comfortable with, that you're fairly proud of. It will be in your best interest to have it as close as possible to your final completed research paper. That way you'll be able to take full advantage of the suggestions and comments of your group members and of me. So this is due on Friday, and to that end, I have given you a sample research paper here. And I'd like to look at it with you to go through it to see how on earth to use it as an example of the organization, how to present a thesis, how to structure your paper. I have no idea what grade this paper got. It was written in the summer of 2016. I've made some changes in it, but I think it serves as a pretty good example of kind of what I'm looking for. This is a paper that's written on the ideas of Nicholas Kristof. Many of you know Nicholas Kristof. Some of you are writing on him. Many of you have read his work. First thing I want you to notice is there's a title to this paper. I want you to have a title to your paper. Please don't let it be research paper or essay number 2. I want it to indicate what on earth you're writing about, a label for your paper. Now, this writer, I believe it was a woman, she started with a quotation. You can do that if you want to, but every time you use a quotation, you better explain the reason for the quotation. You need to analyze the quotation in some way. So she starts with a quotation, and then she explains the importance of it. What I want to point out is at the end of this very first paragraph, she has the thesis of her paper. He, that's Kristof, argues the point that it is getting more and more difficult for people to practice their religious beliefs. That's what Kristof's point of view is. Her thesis is, it is my intent to bring out the flaw in Kristof's writings about why and by whom the religious are persecuted. That means this entire paper, she's going to first explain what Kristof's views are, and then she's going to say why he's wrong or flawed in some way. She starts out her second paragraph with a rebuttal. She explains the other side against her own argument. In many ways, I cannot disagree with Kristof. Then she goes on to explain why Kristof is right. And then she goes on and on. She has, notice here, she has a long quotation that's indented. Anything more than 4 lines needs to be indented, and you see it doesn't use quotation marks. Be very, very careful about long indented quotations, though. I wouldn't have more than about 2 in a paper this size. I think this might be the only one she has. And she is using other people. Notice here, she's using somebody else. Journalist Cullen Murphy tells us, and has a quotation here. Notice she explains to us who Cullen Murphy is. I don't recognize the name. It's a journalist. It's very important to put that in. Every time, oh look, here she's done it again. Timur Kuran's, I don't recognize that name either. A Duke University economic historian. It's like, why should I care what Timur Kuran says? And she's telling me because he's a Duke University economic historian. And this is where Kristof and I disagree. Now she explains this, and I don't want to read the whole paper to you. You can read it yourself. Let's get, I guess that is the conclusion, isn't it? In my opinion, this will never end. And right here is her conclusion, right here. People should be able to worship how they want, and they in turn should extend that unto others. So even though I might not completely agree with Christoph, I say to him, please continue to write columns discussing religious intolerance. That should be a comma there, actually, instead of a semicolon. Not all of its adherents fall into its trap, but an alarming number do. Then she includes her works cited. You need a works cited page even with your rough draft. Notice it's all double spaced, no extra spaces between the entries. It's alphabetical order according to the last name of the authors. And notice she has 2 articles by Nicholas Kristof. The second one, she puts 3 dashes instead of his name again to let you know this. Okay? Good luck. Read it, see what you think, and let me know if you have problems. I'm looking forward to reading your rough drafts.